Money, 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 must be funny in Kyrgyzstan.
That wasn't cool.
Sorry. Hi, we are the Backpacking Family. My name's Pete, this is Emma, and this is baby Bodhi. And we're going to tell you about budget in Kyrgyzstan. How much have we spent in 2 weeks? I'm going to reveal the final figure later on in the video. Break down some of the costs for the main things you'll be wanting to do, like eating, accommodation, transport and activities in Kyrgyzstan. So, here goes.
Because it's on. Keep my fingers crossed. Oh yeah, it's on.
Kyrgyzstan is a delightfully cheap country. I love it here. In fact, many nationalities can enter into Kyrgyzstan for free, no visa, 60 days, which is great. So right from the start, your trip is going to be quite cheap. And in fact, if you want to travel here cheaply, you really can. And hopefully I'll show you the range of price for each thing. You'll see how cheap you can really do Kyrgyzstan. Note on currency. So the local currency is called som, but I'll try and translate it to pounds because I'm British, or quid, we sometimes call it quid. And I'll also try and put prices into dollars, but at the bottom of the video in the description, we'll list all of the prices in pounds, dollars and som, so you can just cross-reference and check the figures. So, starting with a subject close to my heart, food. Food can be delightfully cheap here if you want it to be. Starting at the bottom end of the range, you can buy a whole bowl of fresh noodles from the market for about 30 som. I thought they were trying to charge me too little. I was starting to second guess my Russian. Water as well is delightfully cheap. You can get a 5 litre bottle of water from many shops around town for just 70 som. That's a good tip if you're on a budget here for a few days. Buy a big bottle, top up your smaller bottle. Or if you want to buy a 1 litre bottle, it'll just cost you 25 som. That's about 25 pence, or maybe, what's that in dollars? About 20 cents maybe.
Yeah, I don't speak French.
Very cheap, yeah. But then mid-range, there's loads of awesome coffee shops. We're in Karakol at the moment, fantastic place for brilliant coffee shops, and you can get a cup of coffee for around 120 som, which is about £1.50, £1.40.
And a high chair.
And a high
chair. It's the
chair.
first high chair we found in Kyrgyzstan. And this is why we can film.
I'll tell you what, the coffee's good. High-end, well-made coffees here. And the meals as well. If you're on that kind of mid-range price, you can get a meal for about 100, 150 som, depending on what you want. Maybe all the way up to about 300 som in the coffee shops for some of the more complex and tasty meals. And they're often Western food as well. So if you feel like you're going to miss your creature comforts, that's a good place to come. At the top end of the range, you can pay 300 som or more. Really good Kyrgyz dishes. What about accommodation? Well, again, there's a whole range. Some people just travel here with a tent and they stay in the mountains, they find places to camp, and essentially their accommodation is just free, which is great. So if you're on a super budget, bring a small lightweight tent and just camp.
A good thing about that as well is a lot of the areas you want to camp will probably have yurts as well. So if you feel like you want a more comfortable solution, or just chucking it down, you want a bigger yurt. People will talk more about yurts in a bit, but they are everywhere. And another thing I noticed some people doing, there's a bunch of really cool French backpackers, and they had hiked up with their own tent, but they paid a bit extra to have tea. Now if you have tea in a yurt here, so far that has meant a bit of a banquet with a cup of tea on the side.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the hospitality here is fantastic, isn't it?
So you can really mix it up. You can stay in a tent but have a really posh tea.
Yes. And actually, yurts, we found a yurt in the mountain for 600 som, including breakfast, which I think is fantastic.
£6.
Yeah, around town, cheaper end accommodation, you're looking about 400 som per person, maybe 800 som for a shared private room. But you have to look for the local places to find that, and you may not be able to book in advance if you want the cheapest end accommodation. But if you want something that's going to be a bit more comfortable, international style hostels, you need to book it online beforehand, that kind of thing. You'll be wanting to pay a bit more. It's going to be 20 to 30 British pounds would be
That's
roughly.
more for the guest houses. The hostels can be a bit cheaper, but the English-speaking guest houses with all your creature comforts are coming in about 20 to 30 pounds.
Which is about 2,000 to 3,000 som in local currency. If you like luxury travel, there are luxury places, but they're few and far between and they're harder to find, so you're going to need to plan your trip a little bit. That could set you back as much as 100 or even 150 pounds to get your top-end luxury accommodation. So how about transport? Okay, so transport can be ridiculously cheap. We've been doing a lot of hitchhiking, and in fact, hitchhiking is a viable option here. Some people will take you for free, but you will need to talk to the driver and know a little bit of Russian to arrange that, because other people will be expecting you to pay, and sometimes just any old car can stop and act as a taxi. So if you're traveling here, be careful. Make sure you know a few Russian phrases so you can check whether you're actually going for free if you think you're hitchhiking. The next option up, if you don't want to hitchhike, would be looking at buses. So for about 350 som, you can get miles and miles across the country. So from Karakol to Bishkek, for example, that'll set you back about 350 som per person. Now, if you wanted to get a shared taxi, that's the next option up. And for a really long journey like that, they'll tend to charge per person and just fill up a car, and that'll cost you about 700 som, which is about £7, and that's not bad for a really long journey. Another thing to say about the...
Wants to be involved. It's like, guys, I'm back there, let me go and join in.
Oh. The other thing to say about a taxi is if you want to do short taxi rides around town, maybe a few kilometres, it'll cost you about 70 som, maybe 100 som, depending how far you want to go. Again, remember to agree the price before, make sure you know a little bit of Russian because people don't speak a lot of English around here, and make sure you're happy with the price and they're happy with the price before you get into the car.
This notebook's amazing.
I know, it's so useful. Honestly, I couldn't remember all
Everything
this.
you need to know about Kyrgyzstan is in this little book right here.
And it's on this channel. Finally, activities. You can get activities for a whole range of prices. It just depends what you want to do, how long you want to do it for. The cheapest kind of stuff we've found is if you just rock up as an interesting site like a mosque or maybe a pretty cathedral or something, it'll cost you about 20 som, which is 20 pence, practically nothing. If you want to do like a small tour of something local, like in Karakol, there's a bakery tour, which will cost you about 400 som, which is about £4, or if you wanted to do something like trekking, that's going to be an expensive activity, especially if you want to go with a guide for a few days on horse. If you want things like accommodation, food included, these will up the price again, and you'll be paying anything from $60 to around $150 for a mountain experience trekking, usually including guide and food and that type of thing.
And that could be on horses as well, so you can totally choose how you do the treks. You can do it independently. We've been looking at it, and years ago maybe we would have done it independently, but it was so good to have a guide, a yurt, and food.
I promised you a big reveal. So now for the big reveal. How much have we spent in 2 weeks in Kyrgyzstan? So the grand total in pounds sterling is £280. And that's for 14 days, which is not bad. If you divide that by 14 days, that's around £20 a day. Or by 3 people, that's £6.60 per person per day.
So £280 for 2 weeks for a family of 3 isn't too bad, but it could be a little bit misleading, and we want to explain to you why. First off, we think you could do it a lot cheaper. If it was just the 2 of us, the way we used to travel, we would have been living off those 30 pence noodles. We would have trekked everywhere ourselves. We would have just rocked up at places, and you could slice that in half if you don't do the paid for tours and activities, and you just go and explore yourself. But we're travelling as a family now, and evidently we're in quite a nice coffee shop. So we have spent a bit more on food than we needed to. We do love making sure we've got good healthy food for him, and it's a great excuse for coffee. We drink a lot more coffee now. The other thing is some of the activities we haven't had to pay for because we're making videos to help promote local places. So how I saw it was really, we paid less for activities and then more in coffee shops to go and do the work and edit all the videos. But I do think it's a very realistic budget. If you're travelling solo, I don't think it's as simple as splitting it into 3. You can't go 280 divided by 3 for 2 weeks. I would say you could comfortably, as a budget backpacker, going solo, get by on $10 a day here. 10 to 14 max if you're a budget backpacker. It is not an expensive country if you don't want it to be. You know what, I'm curious, if you're watching this video, what kind of travel do you like to do? Tell me in the comments below. And let me know, would you rather go super budget, are you more of a mid-range, mix it up a bit, or do you prefer to go high-end? We've met people that are going high-end and they rent their own car for $60 a day, and that looks amazing. Actually, they have complete freedom to go wherever they want, stay in slightly nicer places. And if you've only got a 2-week holiday that year, that's an amazing way to do that. It's an amazing way to do it full stop. So let me know, what kind of travel do you like doing? And that helps us inform you more on videos. This little man has been so well behaved, but we have pushed him to his fluffy limit and we are going to go have some lunch. Thank you for joining us.
Kyrgyzstan.
Sorry. Please,